Okay, so this has been like long overdue. I'm gonna go through the parts list for building a mining rig. First off, let me start off and give a quick summary. Go to my photos, go to my favorites, and why is this not loading properly? Okay. Favorites, bunch of pictures of me. Okay, so start off with, this is kind of just an easy summary of everything you need. You need a bunch of graphics cards. That's what these boxes are right here. You'll need, depending on what rig you build, if you build a 6-card 1080 rig, you'll need a 750 power supply and a 1200. And you'll need either a Z270 P Asus motherboard, this one right here, and then this MSI Carbon actually works. It's a little expensive though, and you have to use a rebate. As far as power processor, it's just either basically the cheapest 1151 socket, LGA 1151 socket processor that you can get, Celeron or Pentium. So now let me go into the exact parts. I'm going to give exact details for how to do both. I'll do the first time around, I'll do a 1080 Ti build. Second time around, I'll do a 1050 Ti build. It'll be very similar, but just copy these parts and you'll be fine. So let me go to Newegg. Start off with what I've ordered. And I'll give tips and tricks for where to get the actual parts. So I gotta log in. Give me 1 second. Okay, so going to the beginning, I'm just going to use my parts list so you can see an example of each part. So you're going to need 4 gigabytes of RAM. I ordered 2 times 4 because I was building 2 different mining machines, but get the cheapest 4 gigabyte RAM you can get. Things you need to know are it needs to be DDR4 and it could be 2400 speed. I like G.Skill. So if you Google any website, get G.Skill, DDR4, 2400 RAM, 4 gigabyte size, you're good. Next, you'll need any variant of the GTX 1080 Ti. This is a blower style, has 1 fan, and it sucks the air through. The second thing is, the second kind, let me show you, is the non-blower type. My contacts are irritating me big time today, but this would be an example of a triple fan. So this isn't a blower. It just pulls the air in and it disperses out the sides in all directions. So it's kind of nice if you get all blower or all like triple fan. It's not essential though. It doesn't really matter in the end. Okay, so going back to let me talk about where to get the cards from. Best way to get the cards is from a website called nowinstock.net. Go here, find the graphics card you want to get. For instance, 1080 Ti. Go here and say, see this free alert option. Follow these instructions. So nowinstock.net /computer/video card /NVIDIA /GTX 1080 Ti /setalerts.php. You can join a Google group right here, and it will send you either a text message or an email instantly whenever a graphics card comes in stock. Then set up whatever form of instant payment you have for Newegg. For instance, I use Apple Pay, so I have Apple Pay set up so that when I get an email or a text message saying there's a new 1080 Ti available, in my mind I already have a price set. So I say I'm willing to pay nothing more than $900. So if any card becomes available at anything less than $900, I instantly look at my phone with Face ID, click Apple Pay, and it purchases, enters my shipping address, and ships it to me instantly. So there's no like add to cart, there's no add to cart, there's no checkout that you have to go through, there's no entering of your address, there's no entering of your credit card. Everything is already pre-entered into, for instance, your Apple Pay, or Android has the same thing. You can, whatever their instant payment method is, have it set up so you can instantly pay for a graphics card. That's how you're going to easily get basically as many graphics cards as you want in 1 week. If you want to get faster and you don't want to wait like 2 or 3 days to get all your cards, then you can set up multiple accounts. Newegg limits you every 48 hours you can buy the same card again. You can buy any variant of a 1080 Ti without it counting as a duplicate. If you're trying to do multiple accounts, you need to put a different name, different address for the shipping, and a different credit card number. The billing address for the credit card can be the same, and it won't flag you as being duplicate. But on the same account or on duplicate accounts that have the same name, same shipping address, or the same credit card number, you will get flagged if you buy a product within 48 hours. So here's an example of the alert. You'll get flagged if you buy anything repetitively within 48 hours. So once again, we talked about RAM. We've talked about graphics cards. Well, here's an example of the graphics card. Now the next thing you need to work on getting is a motherboard. This is one motherboard that works fine. It's called the MSI Z270 SLI LGA 1151. Do not assume that Z370 is okay. You need to get a 270. So I've given 3 examples now. If you go back to my photos, there's the Prime 270P. This one works great. That's made by Asus. There's the MSI 270 SLI LGA. If you can get that one, that's fine too. And then also I have an MSI Carbon Pro here, but make sure it's the 270 model, not the 370. Any of the 370 models, you're going to pay a lot more for the processor. Don't do that. Buy a 270 model, one of these 3. This will make sure if you buy a 270 motherboard that's not one of these, I can't guarantee that it'll be able to run 8 cards. Next thing you need is a 32 gigabyte USB 3 flash drive. I'm going to actually put all of these in a Google Doc to share with people. Next thing you'll need, if you're doing, we talked about, so this is where it becomes different between a 1050 Ti and a 1080 Ti. I'll go ahead and explain the difference right now. 1050 Ti only needs one 750 power supply. The 1080 Ti needs 2 1200 watt power supplies. You want it to be platinum, in my opinion, so you get the most electrical efficiency. A lot of people go with gold. I recommend platinum. So it's going to be a 1200 watt platinum power supply. Now, before you stress out about which one is best to get, all you need to do is go down to the settings. You're going to run 4 1080 Ti's from one 1200 watt power supply. So go down to the specifications. I don't know why. Oh, here it is. I just clicked the wrong thing. So there we go. Go down to the specifications and make sure you have the opportunity for either 4 times 16 or 8 times 8. So this is, for instance, 6 plus 2 is 8. You want to have PCI Express 8 times 8 or 4 times 16. Each 1080 Ti has 16 pins. So you want to have either 8, like I said, 8 times 8 or 4 times 16. This is once you have this, it doesn't matter how the power supply looks. You don't have to look at the back of the power supply and be like, I wonder if it has the right cords. As long as it has 8 times 8 or 4 times 16 PCI, you're good. Next, you need some fans. 8-card rig, I think, uses about, don't quote me wrong here. I mean, don't shoot the messenger, but actually I can look at my picture. Let's go to the next one. 6-card rig uses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 8-card rig uses 1, 2, hang on. Can barely see. Let me zoom in. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, 8-card rig uses 7 fans. So 7 fans for an 8-card rig, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards for a 6-card rig. And I'll go over this picture real quick before we're done. So you're going to try to get 8 of the graphics cards. We talked about that. You're going to have your motherboard. You got your power supply, more graphics cards. You're pretty much done on Newegg at this point. And I recommend getting everything I've talked about so far from Newegg. More graphics, just all graphics cards from here on out. Yeah, so that's all you need from Newegg. That's it. You're done. Newegg. Motherboard, RAM, flash drive, and graphics cards. Newegg's the best place to get the graphics cards. It's the easiest. It comes in stock the most. And you can sign up for, before you do anything, before you buy anything, sign up for, it's not showing here. Let me go to 120 days. This might give me more things to show you too, so. And also, don't stress. I'm going to have a nice parts list for everyone to go through. Yeah, so we need to go all the way to the end. Oh, yeah. Newegg Premier 3-month membership. Go ahead and buy that so that you can get a bunch of awesome shipping deals. We talked about the motherboards. Making sure I don't miss anything. You don't need any processor paste. Okay, so if you can find it, you need a Veddha, either 6 or 8 GPU aluminum frame. open air mining frame. I love these Veddha frames. They're the bomb. If you want to build your own, you can. I love these Veddha frames. They're stackable. They're just fantastic. If you look at my picture here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all stacked on top of each other. They work fantastic. They're a little expensive, as you can see here. Each one's like $175. I personally think it's worth it, or you can build your own. You can even build it from wood. I didn't really talk about this yet. G3930 is the best processor. If you can't find this processor, let me know, and I'll recommend a better one. But don't even waste your time trying to find another processor. This is the cheapest, best processor. Sometimes you can get it as cheap as $40. Here I'm getting it for $55 each, but yeah, it can be as cheap as $40, which is fantastic. And you can get these Veddha frames on Amazon. So, if you can get them on Newegg, go ahead and buy some of these PCI Express. They're called Corn. Well, it doesn't matter, Corn. But what you want is you want M.2 to PCI Express port. Let me explain why you need those. Real quick. On your motherboard, you have, in this picture, I'll show you. In this picture, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 PCI slots. You have 2 additional 1 M.2 here, so the board lays flat here. It inserts right here, lays flat, and screws into these holes, one of those 2 holes. Here's the other M.2, lays flat, screws into these 2 holes. Normally, this is supposed to be like a hard drive, but in this case, you can actually take, let me close this. You can take the little computer chips that you're going to buy, called M.2 to PCI adapters, and actually just stick them onto a motherboard. See? So here's the M.2 port. You lay it flat, and then you can take a PCI plug and run it out and up to your graphics cards. So we're going to go run over to Amazon real quick now that we've seen all these parts, and make sure that we have all the parts from Amazon. You can order absolutely everything from Newegg and Amazon. There's no need to go anywhere else. If you need to go somewhere else, do it because you're getting a better deal. Otherwise, Newegg and Amazon are the best. Orders. So yeah, just to clarify, for an 8-card 1080 Ti build, you need 2 1200 watt power supplies. For a 6-card 1080 Ti build, you need a 750 and a 1200 watt power supply. For a 1050 Ti build, all you need is one 750 watt power supply. All of them use 4 gigs of RAM. All of them use the 32 gigabyte flash drive, 3 USB 3. All of them use the same processor, the G3930. So we're going to go kind of to the beginning of this. I'm going to work. So let me just work backwards until we find. I'm going to go to the beginning again. I'll work backwards until we find the proper. We found all the parts for the rig. So here's Amazon. Here's what you need from Amazon. Ethernet cable. It doesn't matter what type. Get a cheap one. If you're going to run multiple rigs, it's really good to have a switch. So here's an example. Plug one Ethernet into the first one. Everything after that is an output. So one input and then say whatever, 7, 8 outputs. This right here, very important. This is called a USB 3.0 to PCI card adapter. So I haven't tested this one. I'm going to give you a better example of one before we're done. But really what this does, if we continue down here, isn't quite what we want. Find the actual adapter. Nope, this is not what we want. Wrong thing. Ignore that. We'll keep going down until we find the right part. Okay, very important. This is what allows you to elevate your graphics cards above your motherboard. It's called a PCIe riser. So PCIe riser. Doesn't matter what company, find one with some good reviews, find one that's cheap, find one that gets you fast shipping. If they don't work, return them. There's a chance they might not. They're all made by cheap Chinese companies. Here's one company called Malia. Makes some pretty good ones. Find one that has good reviews and has colors you like. I mean, that's really basically it. You need a PCI riser. Get a multi-pack. If you have 8 cards, get 8-pack. If you have 6 cards, get 6-pack. If you have 6 cards and you want to make sure that you have 1 or 2 extra PCI risers in case one of them breaks, get the 8-pack. For all your fans, this is an 8-fan hub. So this plugs into your motherboard, your power supply, and then can power 8 fans. It's a great option. You can get this exact model. It's called the SwiftTech, whatever. Look at the picture here, type this in on Amazon. Here's an example of the processor, the G3930. That's the best processor in my opinion. Goes with all the 1151 Z270 motherboards. So here's an example of an 8-card frame. These are stackable. Fantastic that they're stackable, because as you can see in this picture, I think I've emphasized this like at least once already. Stacking them is so efficient on space. Okay, continuing. Here's a bunch of cat food. Okay, here's a power supply, 1200 watt. The key to the power supply is platinum. So continuing. Don't worry about this right now. You can run an extension cord out to your mining hut, and we'll talk about power later. If you want, one of my motherboards came with a bad battery. You can get these from Walmart, but the CR2032 is the CMOS or backup battery. Basically, this is what keeps the settings on your motherboard saved when you turn the power off, even when the motherboard isn't plugged in. But if you remove this battery or it goes dead, then your motherboard settings reset every single time it loses power. That sucks. If you're going to run a 1050 Ti build, go ahead and get several of these 6-pin to 2 PCIe. So what that does is normally one 6-pin will power a 1050 Ti, but you can power 2 1050 Ti's with one cord if you plug the one 6-pin into the cord that normally would power one card and split it into 2 outputs and put it into 2 cards. So basically it's a 1-to-2 splitter. Here's another example of the PCI risers. You need to get one of these per each graphics card. For instance, here's an 8-pack. This would be good for an 8-card rig. More graphics cards. Those are blower styles, but it doesn't really matter. Keep going. Okay, here's another excellent. This is a really good M.2 to PCIe adapter. It has a little light on it. The green ones on Newegg are not as good. They've worked for me, but they're not as good as these. If you want to get the best M.2 to PCIe, get one of these. Now remember, if your motherboard has 6 PCI slots and you get 2 of these, you're good. Only get 2 of these for an Asus motherboard. If it's an MSI, you need to just get one of these or none. I would recommend don't get any of these for the MSI motherboards. I'll give you the second example. For the Asus motherboard, get this. 2 of these. That way you can have 8 total cards. If you want to calculate how much power you're using and how much it costs, get one of these watt electrical usage monitors. Another example of the M.2 to PCI adapter, only for Asus. Remember that. You can't use one of those on an MSI motherboard. If you try to use 2, it will not work. At least I have not been able to get it to work. Go ahead and order some of these fan extenders. So if you have an 8-card rig, your little fan hub, which only has all the 8 pins right beside it, like beside each other, can reach the fans at each end of the frame. Here's an example of the Ethernet cable that you can order. This is very important. If you're going to run 2 power supplies, make sure you get one of these things called a PSU bridge tool. When a power supply is plugged into the motherboard tells the power supply to stay turned on. If you try to power 2 power supplies and only one motherboard, the one power supply stays on, and the second power supply that isn't plugged into the motherboard turns on and shuts off immediately. Plug this into the second power supply as if this is the motherboard. It will take the power from the power supply, route it in this wire back to the power supply, and tell the power supply to keep running. You can do this with a paper clip if you brain fart and forget and don't order one. Don't stress. It's 1, 2, 3, hole 4, and 5 that you need to stick the wire in, and it will keep the power supply running. More examples of everything. PSU bridge, extension cables for the fan, 8-fan hub. Don't stress about the fans. That's the least important thing when you're first building. You don't need to run your rig with extra fans when you're first creating it. So, yeah, that's it. Those are all the parts for Amazon. Nothing more to order. Here's another example of an 8-card rig. There's 2 different versions of the 8-card rig. It's made by Veddha, but it has a premium version and a non-premium. There's the green M.2 to PSI. The premium and non-premium Veddha frame are basically the same. Then here's this M.2 is the one that doesn't have a light on it, so it's not quite as nice. But don't worry about that. So this is going to be just all the parts that you need to order. We'll do another video with how to build it next. So one more thing, go to eBay. If you're going to do an MSI motherboard, you need to go to eBay. And you need to make sure I'm in the right account. You need to go to purchase. Well, I'm going to go to purchase history. You need to order one of these right here. PCI Express one-time expansion kit 1 to 3. So this plugs into one of your regular PCI slots. Let me go to Newegg. So like if here's your motherboard, let me expand this so I can show you. This is your PCI slot, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 PCI slots here. And this is an MSI motherboard, so this M.2 will not work for a PCI slot. And this M.2 will work, but it's much easier to order one of these off of eBay. PCI riser times 1 times expansion kit 1 to 3 port switch multiplier hub riser card. That's a lot of words. It's a 1 to 3 adapter. So basically, let me explain. This piece right here plugs into... where did it go? Okay, yeah. So this piece right here plugs into one of these slots right here. One of these 6 PCI slots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Then this USB cord goes from here to here. So the blue USB goes from here to here. Then you can plug in 3 PCI adapters from your graphics card. So it goes basically motherboard to this to the 1 to 3 splitter, 1 to 3 splitter to 3 different graphics cards. Not done, princess. Yes, I'm busy. I'm recording and you're interrupting it. So, give me a second, please. No, please. Okay, so that's basically the only thing you need from eBay. Yeah, so, but if you can find this 1 to 3 splitter somewhere else, I would try to find this exact same one. So let me zoom in on the picture so you can see it. See this, how this looks? It's a blue board. Maybe the board's a different color and it's the same company. I don't know. This one works for me on MSI motherboards. So it basically allows you to do 5 regular PCI ports. So you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then off of, for instance, this one, then you can have 1, 2, 3. So basically you can have 5 plus 3. There's your 8 total graphics cards. Okay, I'm going to have a parts list. For instance, I'll put it somewhere, either put it in a Google Doc or I might just list it right there under eBay. That way you can see the actual parts listed there. This video is kind of explaining, all the parts. Let me go ahead and zoom in on one of these just so you can see all the parts. So here's the motherboard right here, Ethernet cable coming off of it, flash drive coming off the motherboard, processor on the motherboard. Processor comes with the fan, so this would be the G3930. This would be a Z270 Asus or a Z270 MSI. Ethernet. Make sure it's one of the 2 MSI models that I talked about, the Carbon Pro, or I think it's the SLI, but let's look back at the box in just one more second. Asus is the Z270 P. It's a great option. Then you have 8 PCI risers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 2 M.2s because this is an Asus motherboard, so you can't really see it that great, but there's 2 M.2s each with a PCI riser coming off of it. If you're on an MSI motherboard, let me go all the way to the top. Yep, so here's the MSI motherboard, so 5 here, and then here's the eBay part that I talked about, the 1 to 3 splitter, and then here's that blue chip with 1, 2, 3 PCI risers coming off of it. And this is a 1050 Ti build with 1 750 platinum power supply, same motherboard, same processor, 1 stick of RAM, Ethernet cable, and the processor comes with the fan, and you've got the graphics cards. These are all Veddha frames. These are on the left, these are 8 card frames. On the right, these are 6 card frames. The 6 can't stack on 8, 8 can't stack on 6. So if you go 8, then you're going to stack with 8s. If you go 6, you're going to stack with 6. For the fans, we'll have to zoom in here. Can't really see it that great where it's all going. The hub is coming off from this motherboard. You can't see it. And then it's powering. Let me give a better angle. So in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fans. So those are the 7 fans. The frame comes with all the screws you need. It comes with the on-off switch for the motherboard. Power supply comes with all the cords you need. This one has 4, and let me just give you an example. In this case, this one has 4 × 16 PCI. This one has 4 × 16, or in other words, 8 × 8 or 8 × 8 PCI and pins. That is the whole summary for how to build these things. These are all different versions of 1050 Ti. These are all, everything else you see here is a different version or similar. Maybe they're, these are all duplicates, but versions of a 1080 Ti. So, for instance, these in this frame, the 6-card frame, power supplies sit beside each other. Once again, motherboard, processor, RAM, PCI risers coming off. This is an Asus motherboard, so I'm using 2 M.2s. Here's the flash drive, and you don't need a monitor. So just have a keyboard and monitor available for when you're setting up the machine. And one last thing I wanted to do. Oh yeah, I was going to look up the model of that other MSI motherboard. So we'll do that. So it's the Z270 Gaming Pro Carbon. That's the one MSI, and then the other MSI from my Newegg, just so you have the name of the part, is the MSI Z270 SLI LGA11. Well, this part doesn't matter. Just make sure it's an LGA1151. But if you get an MSI Z270 SLI, you're going to get all the rest of this comes, is automatically with it. So that's it. I will post all the parts list in a document. Hope this video is helpful. If you have questions, let me know.